Groceries are expensive enough these days, and then you add organic into the mix, and suddenly your bill jumps even higher. So the real question is, are you actually getting something better or just paying more?
Welcome to Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen, a mother and daughter duo navigating the world of food from two different generations, with real-life experience and a fresh look at today's food landscape.
Today, we're diving into the organic debate, what it means, when it matters, and how to shop smarter without the overwhelm.
And certainly can be very overwhelming to shop these days. Food costs are going through the roof.
Along with gas.
Oh, yeah, paid $4 a gallon, essentially. $3.99 and 9/10. All right, the 9/10.
No, it's over $4 a gallon here now.
Oh, because you have higher gas tax, probably. But anyway, we're digressing, but organic and all things food are highly linked to all things petroleum, believe it or not. Sad fact.
The food has to get to the store somehow.
It's not just that. And we will get into it as we talk a little bit more as to why it is so linked. And it is not just about transportation of the food to your plate, sadly. Disruptions that have anything to do with the supply of oil affect all things agriculture. And the two are inextricably linked most times, with exception for those farms that are doing things a little bit more regenerative and predominantly more organic, because they are not as tied to petroleum. Fun fact. So let's get into the questions.
Let's. Okay, Mom, be honest. Have you ever stood in the grocery store staring at two options and thought, should I buy the organic option that is significantly more expensive?
Yeah, I've been there. And even as a person who understands essentially the treatment of them in the agriculture world now because of my secondary degrees. But even before I did that, I mean, when I was a chef and I had the Sustainable Inn, it was more important for me to find local supplies of things than it was for me to necessarily buy organic. But there are a few things that I for sure prefer to buy organic, and that's often something that I'm going to eat that is going to be like fresh and uncooked. I prefer to have my apples somewhat organic because they generally have a less harsh thing sprayed on them. And often root vegetables, for sure, I like to do organic. And that is because they often use a lot of fungicides in root vegetables, although things like tomatoes, they also do that. So things that are susceptible to root diseases and other things like nematodes and whatnot, then they are fumigating the soil, and that leads to an imbalance of the microbials in the soil, and that then reduces the amount of soil microbes and soil health, which then reduces, in my humble opinion, the amount of nutrients that are taken up by the plant and then making their way into the body. So I think of it as a little bit different than maybe other people do. But I also think that people think organic means it's not sprayed at all, and that is total BS. For the record, organic, the label, the USDA organic label, just means you are not using a synthetic type of pesticide, herbicide, fertilizer, anything like that. So you are not using a synthetic treatment on that food and in that farming practice. It does not mean it doesn't get sprayed at all.
Well, thank you for clearing that up. I've also heard that there are some foods which are better to buy organic and other foods which you can kind of get away with buying not organic. And the list of vegetables and fruits that you should buy organic are called the Dirty Dozen, and they consist of strawberries, spinach, kale, collard, and mustard greens. That's one, that's not three. Grapes, peaches, cherries, nectarines, pears, apples, blueberries, blackberries, and potatoes.
Yes, because those are predominantly susceptible to a lot of bacteria, fungus, and other diseases that in order to have those beautiful, pretty fruits and vegetables, you need to treat them. And certainly kale, cabbage, mustard greens, any of those in the, to use the fancy word, Brassicaceae family, the cabbage family. There are some moths. I suffer from having to keep these damn things off my stuff that are really hard to deal with. And they get in there and they just munch the hell out of your plants overnight. You just don't have much left. So it's either you eating or the little caterpillars eating. And nobody really likes caterpillars on their food. Although extra protein. Yeah, it's hard. And so people in the grocery store would find it unacceptable to have their kale leaves half munched on by a caterpillar, even if the caterpillar wasn't there. You know, you're going to look at all the holes in the leaves and be like, well, I'm not buying that, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But there's also another list called the Clean 15, and those are considered safe to eat conventionally grown, and that would be avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, papaya, onions, sweet peas, frozen. Says that in parentheses. I don't know why the fresh ones are not able to be eaten eventually. I don't know.
I think it's probably more availability than anything.
Yeah, probably. Asparagus, cabbage, which kind of contradicts what you just said, but a little bit about the breast.
Because you can peel the outer leaves off.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty inside.
Yeah. Watermelon, cauliflower, bananas, mangoes, carrots, mushrooms, and kiwi.
Interesting. Well, kiwi's like a vine. I mean, that's just like, it grows crazy. So that one I could see. Avocados I can certainly see because they're generally grown in, although now probably more monoculture, I believe. Back a while ago, they were less monoculture. The more monoculture you get, meaning all the things are all just that one species, then you end up with more disease pressure because, well, they're all conjugated in one thing and you're just multiplying the number of disease that you have in there. So often it's best to kind of rotate or have multiple different things in that same space so that the insects can't maybe find it or things of that nature. But yeah, it's good to have those, and we will certainly add that list into the show notes. Maybe even we should put a little list together and pop that into our Instagram feed. That would be a good thing. But yeah, it's pretty complex in the organic debate. I think it is way more important, though, that people eat fruits and vegetables, regardless of how they're produced, than it is to eat no fruits and vegetables because they're stymied by sitting there stuck as to which kind they're going to buy.
Yeah, I would say if your main concern is just getting vegetables and fruits into your diet, just disregard what we're saying about the organic aspect and just eat the fruits and vegetables. But if you are already eating a lot of fruits and vegetables and you then want to be more discerning about which ones you consume, organic or not, because you want to continue becoming healthier, then some of the information or a lot of the information will be pertinent to you.
And it's also that there are things that you can do to the fruits and vegetables. You can clean them, you can peel them.
Yes, but wash some of the things like glyphosate, I mean, you can't wash that off of a vegetable. Like it's in it, like it's absorbing that into its flesh as it grows. So,
I don't know, I'd have to look into the science of some of that because what glyphosate does, how it works, its function is that it...
and for those who don't know, glyphosate is Roundup.
Well, glyphosate has many different things now because I think the patent is off of it now, so anyone can make glyphosate if they so chose. Yeah, isn't that great?
So great.
Look, DDT, no longer used in the United States, is still manufactured in the United States and just sold to other countries that it's not illegal to use it. So, that being said,
even better.
Isn't that warm and fuzzy? But
I love that for
The
today.
glyphosate, how it works is when it's sprayed on a plant, because it is an herbicide. It is not a pesticide. It's an herbicide. So herbicide just meaning it stops weed competition with the plant that you're trying to grow. So if you're growing a corn crop or soybean crop, you don't want the weeds in there. So they had finally found this glyphosate formulation, which basically causes the plant it's sprayed on to not be able to photosynthesize correctly, and it basically burns up because it can't deal with the light that's coming in that it needs for running through the photosynthetic cycle. That's how it works. So, but it worked on every single plant it was sprayed on. And so,
And
therefore, they had to genetically modify plants like corn and soybean so they would not be affected by the action of the glyphosate. So, they created plants that were not able to get affected by it so they could spray a whole field, hit the weeds, wouldn't kill the cash crop, like the corn crop, but the weeds would die. However, due to genetic diversity, we have this issue where some plants, like some weeds, just wouldn't die anyway because they're just naturally evolved to
resistant.
have some gene that could deal with it. Bad thing is that now you've sprayed a whole field, and what's left? The weeds that actually are resistant to the herbicide. So then they cross pollinate and then they make babies that now are all resistant. So we have now created through not just glyphosate, but many other different herbicides. I don't even know the list. I lost count last, but it was something like near 30 different weed species that are resistant to a host of different herbicides. So with the whole process of trying to make farming easier, less mechanization on the field, and just being able to kind of go over field, spray it, reducing labor, and also actually reducing soil disturbance, which is bad for the soil and the environment. What seemed like a good thing, unfortunately, has now created a larger problem. But that's why organic on its head is also one of the things. It's like a double-edged sword. Organic can be very good because you are reducing the spraying and things that unbalance the ecology. However, when you manage a farm organically, there are very few non-synthetic herbicides out there. There are things like acetic acid and things like that that can be utilized to burn the weeds that you want, but they have to be sprayed only on the weeds. And unfortunately, like when you manage it, you're managing your weeds by hoeing or disturbing the soil, which is very bad for the soil health and leads to erosion of the topsoil via a rainstorm or wind in that area when you've disturbed and kind of roughed up that surface around the crop that you're trying to grow. And so it's not as simple as one or the other, but that's the thing that weighs on me a lot is how is this crop grown in a way that is in kind of concert with nature? And I think that's a little bit more important than just saying, well, I buy organic and it solves all my problems. And that's where like I think education is key. Is it isn't one or the other. It's looking at the whole system. So maybe focus a little bit more on a regenerative system than just organic, and that solves everything. And we had that discussion a little bit on episode 2 in the soil health debate, where we talked a little bit about that regenerative soil practices. And so anyone interested in delving deeper in there can bop over to episode 2 and have a listen. So what other kind of questions do we want to chat about today in this organic debate?
I don't know. Do you have any questions for me?
So for you, like your clients are very discerning.
Yes.
How do you focus on purchasing the best food and clean food that you're feeding that family?
I mostly just buy organic if it's available because I don't generally when I'm shopping, I just want to get products that I know are at least somewhat better than, or like healthier. So I just and budget isn't really a constraint. So I really just buy everything organic or regenerative organic if that's an option. And if it is an option, I will go and get stuff from local producers. There are not really so many options for that in the area that I'm in, but I will get eggs from someone who's growing their chickens locally, like pasture raised, as opposed to just getting them from the grocery store. Fruits and vegetables, I mostly just get from the vegetable, though I would love to sign up for a CSA, but I like the variety that the grocery store offers because I can, like curate what I'm buying based on my menu. So, I mean, it's not like the best.
Well, I think like that's part of it is like which way do you go? Do you get
Yeah.
the vegetables and then come up with something to
Yeah.
cook?
So if
Or
I
you
did
come up with something to cook and then you've got to go get
exactly,
the
if I did
vegetables.
have a CSA, I would then create recipes based on what I'm getting from, I would curate my menu to the things that I'm getting and not the other way around. But I haven't seen any CSAs that I really think are a better option than what I'm doing as of right now. So maybe somewhere down the line, that is an option. But for right now, it's working.
Yeah, and I think that's more important is that you're getting the fruits and vegetables into your diet than it is like saying, "Oh, I can't do this because I don't have a CSA," or I think that's their practice over perfection is so much more important, and that's often where I think people get stuck. Yes, organic can be better. However, I do think buying locally and knowing your farmer and knowing how that stuff is raised is far more important because the smaller farmers generally tend to have practices that are better for that community in which they are themselves living in. Whereas some farms that are kind of more of the huge agriculture complex that the people who own the company aren't living anywhere near, probably not even in the same country, that it can be more extractive. Not for sure, definitely that way, but it can be like that, right?
Yes.
And so I
And
think it's more important to think about, hey, if you're looking your farmer in the eye and you're asking them, do you spray this? Have that conversation with them. If you can, stopping in. But I realize we're all busy and that can be hard.
and even if if you have a local farm available, and even if it's not like necessarily labeled an organic farm, they may still be using a lot of these same practices that organic places are using, but it is quite expensive. I don't really know what the costs are, but I do know that it's very expensive to like get the organic certification.
It is. It's in
So
the, generally, as far as I know, my understanding is in the thousands of dollars every year.
yeah.
And not only is it like an expense to have the actual certified organic label, but there's a boatload of paperwork
Hoops. Yeah.
as well. Oh yeah, there's you have to have someone come out and audit. You have to keep every receipt of every single thing that you have utilized on your farm for a whole year, every year. So it requires a lot of paperwork. And often a farmer, if they're the only ones working, let's say they have a small farm, maybe it's them and maybe it's a husband and wife duo that are doing it, or just one person getting started and hires a few people. They have all they can do just to work on the farm and do all the farm work, let alone all the paperwork that goes with it. And so it is often extremely difficult. Now, there is kind of a different one that it's kind of like certified sustainable, which is a third party comes in and audits. I've actually, when I was an extension agent, audited a farmer, and that is another certification that is not under the USDA, that is a way that they are generally acting like more regenerative and sustainable practices. But I think I like it better because it takes a more holistic view than just this black and white, like you use this, that's it, you can't be certified. But another thing about organic is that they have this list, it's called GRASS list, which is an acronym for generally regarded as safe. And so there are things that a farmer can use on their farm and still be under the organic label on things that are under the GRASS list. Something like an organic amendment can be on the GRASS list. Well, organic fertilizer is on the GRASS list, but that's just not organic fertilizers from like animal manures and things of that nature, which generally tend to be, or compost. But it can also be humanure, meaning biosolids and bio-waste, is considered organic. And so this is sometimes where sometimes knowledge can be a bad thing, is that you know too much about something and you sit there going, well, that's where I mean, know your farmer and know what they're putting on it. Because they could be certified organic and be putting on essentially
Human
stuff
poop?
from the wastewater treatment plant, which is not only human poop with all of the things that go along with that, but we're talking high antibiotics. And you don't know what other people are pouring down their sink.
Yeah.
And there's no way often to differentiate between home usage input to a wastewater treatment and industrial waste. You could end up with a boatload of stuff on your fruits and vegetables that are organic, but you don't want them on there. And so it is so important to kind of understand it from more of a kind of granular level. Dig down and understand, like, where did that come from and what? Because that's where I think, like, it isn't always worth buying organic.
Yeah. I would generally recognize putting human waste on food products as unsafe,
Is it a
but
bad idea? Yeah.
yeah.
But that's why you can't use an organic fertilizer for things that you eat fresh, like your salad greens. You actually have to go 150 days in between the application of a fertilizer and like the harvesting. Like there are very specific food rules, food safety rules for a farm.
Is that why, like, for romaine lettuce, there have, like, previously been, like, tons of outbreaks of E. coli or whatever, and they have to recall the romaine because of...
Well, some of that's from irrigation water. So you end up with something that gets in the irrigation water, or the irrigation water came with, let's say, some deer walked through the irrigation canal and pooped. And now that water, it gets in and on top of the lettuce because they're spraying over the lettuce with the drip irrigation. So that's why it's kind of important to just wash your lettuce, because you'll get that off. It doesn't go into it. Just clean your lettuce. But yeah,
That's just a blanket statement. Just even if it says it's clean, just wash it.
Yeah, just wash it. And yes, it takes time, but yeah. Although, and then when we start to get into like microgreens or your baby greens,
Those things are grown hydroponically most of the time.
most of the time, or in a high tunnel where they are running that water through a very, very small micron filter anyway, because if not, they're clogging their emitters. So it's a little bit different. And you should still wash it. But when they say double washed and put into the bag, they are double washing it. Like you don't have to wash that when it says previously washed. But if you're getting a bag of romaine, super important to give it a rinsey-roo. Yeah, maybe not washing it with soap and water. That might make it taste yucky. So here's one of the things.
Soak. It's always good.
Yeah.
Helps get some of the little buggies off that could be on there, and
Yeah, aphids love romaine lettuce for sure. But there are some other things that like people have been doing, and I've seen some really cool polyculture where they're growing like alyssum, which is a nice little flower that actually attracts insects that then like to eat aphids. And so it's called a nectary. They need the nectar. So but their offspring will actually, the little, I guess, caterpillars or nymphs of those tachinid wasps, they actually will eat the aphids. And so they've done a study on like how many alyssum that you need to then ensure that you don't have any aphids on your lettuce. So there's some really cool things that you can do. It's called integrated pest management, that are ways to reduce spraying, which to me, that's better because you can get an organic spray, you can get a non-organic spray. Finding ways to like work with nature are even better because then it saves on that cost and it looks pretty in a field. So there's that. So here's something like, do you believe that organic is more nutritious?
Generally, I would argue that it is better for you, but I don't think that I mean, like we've already said, it's like organic isn't the end all be all, you know, just because you're getting organic produce doesn't mean it's the best option. I just think it's the best, easiest, most available option for most people. You know, it's...
Well, I actually think it's like, take that off the table, organic or not, for the like more nutritious, because you can have organic or non-organic that is coming from like some other country being shipped in, and by the time it gets to your plate, it's like a couple of months old.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing things like irradiating it, nuclear isotopes and whatnot, to ensure that the food does not disintegrate as fast. But it is a living thing. It has living cells, and so it is metabolizing through those nutrients as it sits there. So by the time it gets to your plate, worse for you. So local is better, whether it is organic or not, if you're talking in the nutritious side, because you're going to get it at its freshest and therefore likely more nutrient dense. I don't think organic or non-organic, that there's a lot of research on that. It doesn't matter. There's no one way or another. It actually has more to do with the farming practices of a specific location and what they're doing, whether it is organic or not organic. So buying organic does not give you a free pass and saying those are definitely better for you. It is more complex than that, for sure. And that's where it's like local is for sure better, or frozen, because they are flash freezing it, regardless of where it's coming from. They're getting it at its freshest and freezing it. Now, some things I would not buy frozen, and that would be a Brussels sprout or an asparagus, just because they are mushy after they, I mean, unless I was doing it in a soup and I was going to like not want it to be a little crunchy, because you just can't put the crunch back after it's frozen. So there are things that you just need to eat fresh, but things like peas, for sure, like they're better often because they go from being somewhat sweet when they're fresh, like harvested, to bitter pretty quick. And so they generally tend not to be very delicious if you have fresh peas from the store and you're shelling them out. So better frozen. So I think like that is one area where I would say. And another area I would talk about is processed food-ish, organic, not organic, snacks, and all of those things that have some USDA organic label on them.
It's just as bad.
Yeah, because it's processed and it has other crap in it. I don't care whether it's organic or not. Junk food is junk food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was this a thing when I was growing up? Like when you were raising us? Was this organic label something that you had to consider when you were grocery shopping way back in the day? When I was
not so much, because the USDA organic, it was like in the 90s that it really kind of started, like became a real thing. But when I was starting out, man, I couldn't afford it. But I did grow up on a farm, and Grandma still had a vegetable garden. So there was often times where it was very easy. Just Grandma was always giving us, potatoes. You want some tomatoes? You want some green beans? Like my grocery store was
beans, potatoes, tomatoes.
That's right. Yep. Gotta have those. We get that, sweet potatoes, like cucumbers. I mean, I have a picture of your sister, Amelia, standing over a 5-gallon bucket filled with green beans because we had been out in the garden picking green beans. She was a whole dirty mess in this cute little pink outfit, which was now pink and brown because it had dirt all over it. And she was just standing over that bucket of green beans, just grabbing the green beans and eating them. She loved green beans from the get-go. And so, yeah, we got most of the stuff that I could get raised like locally from Grandma. And She predominantly used organic practices, generally tried to spray as little as possible. So I think she did more regenerative and sustainable practices than, which is really meaning that you are trying to utilize nature using as little as possible. And then sometimes when she did need to treat something, she was using a limited amount of whatever worked. And sometimes that literally meant us with a bucket of soapy water picking potato bugs off the potato plants, which was eek. But, that was kind of the way that food was raised.
Mm.
So I think that's where my kind of mindset always came is it's not one or the other. It's just trying to use as little as possible, and working with nature is a better way to go than just all one way or all the other way. And she never did certified organic because she would have never been able to keep up with the paperwork for one, and for sure, like, we couldn't have afforded it. So that was off the table. But in general, I think her biggest focus was on soil health, putting mulch down, using leaves and all of that to add to the soil health, which then added to the health of the plant, which always reduced the amount of any other treatment that you needed, because a healthy plant can kind of like fend off the insects and diseases anyway. Kind of like people.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I wish I could get healthy enough to fend off ticks and mosquitoes, but anyway. That would be great, wouldn't it?
The human body hasn't figured that one out yet.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it was expensive. Way back then, like, there was very little in the grocery store that was organic. Like, I remember it was like lettuce and like maybe tomatoes, but in general, you had very little of it available anyway. So you just went to the store and just bought. But I tried to eat within the seasons and stuff as well. And was kind of taught that because I remember Grandma told me a story about, I mean, she grew up with means and could afford things, but just because she could didn't mean she was encouraged to do so. And she had some money, went down to the grocery store one time, and it was early in the springtime. And this was back before, right around when refrigeration became a thing, and where transporting things across the country just had started. And she saw a melon in the store, way off season. She grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, way off season. So she buys this melon, brings it home, and her grandfather lit into her and told her what a stupid, wasteful thing that was, that you never, ever, ever buy fruits and vegetables off season because, one, it won't taste as good, which for sure we all know that, or at least we should all know that. Like, you eat a melon fresh from the garden, way better, or in season, way better than any of that stuff that tastes like cardboard that kind of looks like a melon, like cantaloupe, in the grocery store in the winter. It's just terrible. Like, don't waste your money. Buy something that is in season. And so that's kind of always sat in my back of my mind, was eat what's freshest rather than just because it's there, buy it. But it's not. I mean, everything is available at any time of the year now. So I think not anybody even knows what a season is in fruits and vegetables.
No. Being green isn't easy.
Yeah, I think Kermit said
Not
that.
easy being green. But if someone is walking into the grocery store this week, what is the best way to simplify your approach to organic without it getting too complicated and anxiety-inducing?
Well, I think for sure the Dirty Dozen is a good list to kind of go off of as a guide. But also, like, look at the fruits and vegetables that you're there, and if it says it's local, like, where does it come from? That's a good place to start. And then look at it. Like, if you have a budget for your grocery shopping, pick and choose which ones. Go by what it looks like. If it looks nice and like bright in color, firm, not wilted, and those kinds of things, compared to like, oh, well, that's organic, but the stuff looks like it's been there for like 3 months. Like, I think that is where you kind of don't overthink it that way. And if you can, go to a local farmer's market or go a CSA, obviously that's going to be nice and fresh.
Or a co-op.
Yeah, exactly. Co-ops are great. That one, most of the time, they are going to give an offering of things that are far better for the environment as well as for the human health, but also that local. They are supporting local. And you become a member and you can often save greatly, for sure. Like, our local co-op they even have like local meats too. So it's fabulous. So I would say that, and then, ping us with questions. If there was something that we didn't discuss in this debate, hey, DM us, send us a message, and we would love to hear what you guys think and what comes into your head when you're staring at the vegetable aisle or meat aisle or whatever on organic versus not organic.
And now we have a book review, correct?
Today I want to kind of chat about a book that I think is really a great read and a little bit more in depth on kind of a good way to think about, rather than eating organic, eating local or within season. So this book is called Animal Vegetable Miracle, and it's by Barbara Kingsolver, and it's all about a year of her food life, in that she set up this whole thing of like they were going to eat only stuff that was local and available to them and not shipped in from a whole host of other places. And so it has a couple of recipes in it, so kind of very similar to my book, Between Farm and Fork, although mine's a little bit more self-helpy memoir. But I would say that it is a great read for sure. And it's like they started a farm, or I think they had a farm, but they decided they were going to only eat stuff that was local and within season, with exception for, I think one thing, if I recall, in the book was coffee, because coffee is not grown in the United States, and she didn't want to live without it, because that was one, like they had, I think it was like a 5% list, or maybe it was a 2% or whatever. It was like, okay, we have from the get-go, let's set our boundaries, and a few things are non-negotiable to do this, but other than that, great read, great way to kind of set the thought of how to eat more intently for both yourself, your health, and the health of the environment. So I would recommend that, and we will certainly pop that the link to our books.org page, where all of our books that we will review will always live, and you can link from there. And for those who are not familiar with bookshop.org, there is a local bookstore that I've linked to, so that there is some proceeds of you buying the books goes to help support a local bookstore. It's actually a partially new and used bookstore in Carborough called the Golden, I think it's Golden Fig, Golden Leaf. Isn't that sad? I have to remember, but I'll probably.
Fig.
Is it the Golden Fig? Okay.
I think so. I've been there. I have.
Okay, it is the Golden Fig. Yep. All right. Well, there we go. It is the Golden Fig. So it's a great way to support a local business.
I'm
You
ready.
are totally ready.
I'm always ready
for the kitchen.
Kitchen showdown.
You're ready for a kitchen showdown. This week's showdown is on what?
Drum roll, please. Peas.
Oh, pass the peas, please.
Oh,
I can't wait.
peas.
What is your recipe this week? Spring pea and sorrel soup with mint cream.
Okay, yes. And you, Mom, had to make a sugar snap pea pesto with ricotta gnocchi.
Well, I can't wait to see how they turn out. We'll see you in the kitchen.
See you in the kitchen.
Hey everyone! So welcome to my kitchen. Today I made Lauren's snap pea pesto with ricotta gnocchi, and here it is right here. And I have to tell you, I am super excited to taste this. I might have maybe nibbled as I was cooking the gnocchi. So it came together super easy. This is a very easy meal to make. As far as that, this recipe is very easy to make. The peas and making the pesto, I did have to add a little bit of oil, a little more oil than what the recipe called for. I would say if you have a food processor, use that instead of a blender. I think it would work better. But let's give it a try and see how it is. To start, you want to blanch and then shock those peas. Gather all the rest of the ingredients together, and you're going to make the pesto. Blend that all together in a blender, although a food processor might even work better. I found I needed to use a little bit more olive oil to get it all whirring around, but eventually I got it into a smooth consistency. Then I made the gnocchi, which is mixing all the ingredients together for that, some eggs, some flour, some ricotta cheese, and some Parmesan cheese, salt and pepper. You do want to mix that together gently. Once you've got that mixed together, you're going to roll them out into kind of ropes on a floured surface. And after you get them to be about an inch in diameter for that roll, you can use a bench scraper or a knife. Use that to cut them into these pillow shapes about 1 inch wide. After you have done all of that, then you want to have a sheet pan and a fork ready to finish the gnocchi, and also your boiling water that is very well salted. So you roll the little pillows off of the end of a fork. I use the underside of the fork. That makes the classic gnocchi ridges, which helps to hold on to the pesto. At this point, you can cook them. You can also leave them on a sheet pan and freeze them. That's a great way to store them for later if you happen to make extra. Drop them into that boiling water one at a time. Give it a little bit of a stir so they don't stick to the bottom. And then when they are floating, they are finished. So at that point, you want to scoop them out, make sure you drain them very well, and place them into a bowl for finishing the meal. Next, you're going to cook the pancetta, although in this case I actually used speck because I didn't have any of the pancetta on hand, and bacon would also work as well. So once you have kind of crisped up that, remove it from a pan, add in the reserved blanched peas to warm those up. And then after that, you can add in your gnocchi, heat those up, toss them together, and then lastly, you top that with the pesto, finish it all up, get it all stirred together, and then you can plate that up after you've got that all mixed. This works really great as a complete meal. You can also serve this as a side to any really light thing like chicken or fish.
The mint goes really well with the whole pea pesto. Absolutely delicious. Definitely give it a try. Good job, Lauren. That's a definite 10 out of 10.
Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making my mom's spring pea and sorrel soup with mint cream recipe. This is a very bright and obviously spring recipe, and I'm super excited to make it, so let's get started. I first started by getting my aromatics ready to sweat in my pot, heated to medium-low heat for properly sweating the vegetables. After the vegetables were ready, I added them to my pot and just started cooking them at a very low temperature so that they do not get any color. While my shallot and garlic was sweating, I went ahead and I started preparing my celery, potatoes, and herbs. For this recipe, I had to figure out a substitute for the sorrel because this is an ingredient that my mom is able to just harvest from her garden, but it is not one that I currently have access to here in Florida where I live, and I wasn't sure of any farms or farm stands that might sell it, so maybe in the future it will be available to me, but for this recipe, I decided to go with a cranberry hibiscus leaf, and this has a similar flavor profile that it is very bright and tangy and has a nice punch of freshness, very similar to the sorrel. The only thing is that the cranberry hibiscus has a much brighter red color, whereas the sorrel is a deep green, and I was a little bit worried about it changing the color of the soup, but it still came out very nice and vibrant in the end, so I was really happy with that. Once all my ingredients were sweated for the soup, I went ahead and added my cooking liquid, which I used chicken stock for this. In my mom's recipe, you could use chicken stock or vegetable stock, and personally, I just like the flavor of chicken stock better. I think it gives a more full mouth feel in the end, but vegetable stock is great as well. I was really happy with how this soup turned out, minus the minor change that I had to make. I would have loved to try it as my mom had intended it, but I think it still came out really nice, and you still got the tanginess from that cranberry hibiscus that complemented the bright and freshness of the peas very well. So I really recommend that you guys give this recipe a shot and let us know what you think. And if you're able to make it with the sorrel, let us know about that, or like where you were able to find it, because I just was not able to find it here in Florida. Or if you have any recommendations of where I could find it here in Florida, I'd love to hear that. So please make both our recipes, my spring pea pesto or sugar snap pea pesto with ricotta gnocchi, and my mom's spring pea and sorrel soup with mint cream, and let us know who you think won this week's recipe battle. In my mind, the choice is obvious, but we'd love to hear from you guys. So please let us know. And if you have any spring pea recipes that you'd like to share, we'd love to try them out. So don't forget to put it in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Happy cooking. Bye.
Well, this episode is fully baked. Remember, don't stress over perfection.
Cooking and life can be messy, but that's where the magic happens. Inspiration can come from even the worst of kitchen mess-ups.
Yeah, like how the chocolate chip cookie was born.
And the potato chip. Sometimes you gotta get messy to get clean.
Thanks for joining us in the kitchen. Subscribe so you don't miss the next food fight episode.
You can follow us on Instagram at 2 Cooks Podcast. That's the number 2 Cooks Podcast. And share with all your favorite foodies. This is Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen, where better food and better health always start in the kitchen. Mom, don't forget to go check the stove. I think that might be how dinner got burned.
Thanks for listening. See you next time. Gotta run and check the stove.